Welcome back to Unstoppable Mind today. In a world chasing shortcuts, we explore the ancient power of diligence and true integrity. Our story begins in a bustling town where opportunity was scarce and survival depended on the strength of one's back. Meet Chung, a young man with nothing in his pockets but a heart full of dreams and an unbreakable spirit. Every step he took was a reminder of his poverty, yet he refused to let his circumstances define his future destiny. He stood before the largest rice warehouse in the district, a place known for hard labor and an even harder master. The owner, Mr. Jung, was a legend in the trade, known for his sharp eyes and zero tolerance for laziness. Chung approached the intimidating figure, swallowing his fear, ready to beg for a chance to prove his worth through work. Mr. Jung looked at the skinny boy, doubting he had the strength to lift a single sack of heavy rice. But in Chung's eyes, the old merchant wears something rare, a fire that suggested this boy would not easily give up. With a grunt, he hired Chung for the lowest position, pointing him toward the heaviest sacks at the back of the warehouse. The work was brutal, designed to break the weak, but Chung lifted the burden without a single word of complaint. While others did the bare minimum to get by, treating the job as a curse, Chung treated it as an opportunity. He moved with a steady rhythm, ignoring the aching in his muscles, focused only on completing the task at hand perfectly. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the other workers dropped their sacks and rushed home, eager to escape the labor. But Chung did not leave. Instead, he picked up a broom and began to clean the scattered grains from the floor. He swept the corners that no one looked at, gathering every wasted grain, treating the warehouse as if it were his home. He straightened the stacks that others had left crooked, ensuring safety and order, driven by his own standard of excellence. The next morning, Mr. Jung arrived to find the warehouse floor shining and the inventory arranged with military-like precision. He said nothing, but his sharp mind registered the change. He knew none of his old workers would bother doing this. Chung arrived moments later, offered a polite bow, and went straight to work, expecting no praise for his extra labor. Days turned into weeks. While others complained about the heat or the weight, Chung remained consistent, like a steady machine. His co-workers mocked him, calling him foolish for working so hard for such low pay. But Chung simply smiled back. He knew something they did not, that how you do anything is how you do everything. He was building his character. High above in his office, Mr. Jung watched through the glass, observing the young man who worked when no one watched. For 3 months, the old master observed in silence, noting every extra hour and every meticulous detail Chung attended to. He saw Chung help the elderly workers without being asked, taking on their burdens simply because it was the right thing. He saw Chung repairing torn sacks that others would have ignored, saving the company money from his own initiative. Convinced of Chung's potential, Mr. Jung decided it was time to test the boy's limits. He summoned his manager. The manager approached Chung with an impossible task: to reorganize the entire back inventory of the warehouse in a single day. It was a job for 5 men, not 1. The other workers shook their heads, expecting Chung to finally quit or complain. But Chung did not complain. He accepted the challenge, viewing it as a test of his endurance rather than a punishment. Night fell, and the warehouse grew silent. Under the dim light of an oil lamp, Chung continued his solitary labor. His muscles screamed in agony, and his hands were blistered, but he refused to stop until the last sack was placed. From the shadows, Mr. Jung watched. He realized this boy possessed a rare spirit that could not be broken by hardship. By dawn, the impossible was done. The warehouse was organized perfectly, a testament to one man's will and dedication. Chung was found asleep against a stack of rice, having given every ounce of his energy to fulfill his duty. Mr. Jung woke him gently, not with a shout, but with a cup of water and a look of acknowledgement. He didn't praise him lavishly. He simply told Chung to go home and rest. But the test had been passed. Chung walked home with a limp, but his heart was light. He knew he had conquered himself, which was the greatest victory. A few days later, Chung was summoned to the office. It was time for the second phase of his testing. Mr. Jung promoted him from the floor to the desk, entrusting him with recording the daily shipments and simple accounting. Chung applied the same diligence to numbers as he did to rice sacks. He learned quickly, ensuring every figure was accurate. But this was a trap. Mr. Jung deliberately left errors in the books and extra money in the box to test Chung. Late that evening, Chung discovered the discrepancy. There was more money than there should have been according to the sales. He didn't hesitate. He didn't think of keeping the extra coins for his poor family. He went straight to the master. He returned every coin, explaining the error. He was worried he had calculated wrong, not realizing he was being tested. Mr. Jung took the money and smiled. He had found a worker who was physically strong, but more importantly, morally unbreakable. From that day on, the relationship changed. Mr. Jung began to teach Chung the secrets of the trade, starting with quality. He taught him that business is not just about profit, but about the quality of the product you offer to the world. Chung absorbed this knowledge like a sponge. He learned to distinguish rice not just by look, but by smell and feel. They traveled to the fields together. Mr. Jung showed him that a good business relationship starts with respecting the producers. He taught Chung that a fair deal is one where both sides smile. Exploitation is the enemy of long-term success. Years passed. The skinny boy transformed into a confident young man, respected by the farmers and the customers alike. Customers came specifically to see Chung. They trusted his word and his scale, knowing he would never cheat them. His integrity became his trademark. If a customer overpaid by a single penny, Chung would run down the street to return it. Mr. Jung watched this transformation with deep satisfaction. He saw in Chung the son he never had, a true successor. Never despise the small things, Jung taught. A mountain is just millions of small grains holding together. Lose one, you lose all. Chung understood. It wasn't just about rice, it was about life. Every action, every choice, adds up to who we become. But time waits for no one. Mr. Jung's health began to decline, and he knew he had to make a final decision. Sensing weakness, a ruthless competitor approached. He wanted to buy the warehouse and turn it into a high-profit, low-quality operation. The competitor cornered Chung one evening. He knew Chung was the key to the warehouse's operations and reputation. He offered Chung a massive bribe. All Chung had to do was mix in cheap, spoiled rice with the premium stock. It was a fortune. Enough to buy a house, enough to retire. For a man who grew up poor, the temptation was immense. He pushed the money back. "My honor is not for sale," he declared, "and neither is the trust of our customers." The merchant left in a rage, vowing to destroy them. But Chung stood tall, his conscience clear and his spirit unburdened. He went back to work. He didn't tell anyone about the bribe. He simply continued to do his job with excellence. But secrets are hard to keep. Mr. Jung learned of the incident. It was the final confirmation he had been waiting for. Mr. Jung's time was drawing near. Bedridden, he summoned his lawyer to draft his final will and testament. Meanwhile, Chung ran the business seamlessly. The customers didn't even notice the master's absence because the standard remained high. Chung's 29th birthday approached. He expected nothing more than a quiet day of work, as was his custom. But Mr. Jung insisted on a celebration. He arrived at the warehouse, frail, but dressed in his finest ceremonial robes. Chung was stunned to see the gathering. He bowed to his master, grateful for the kindness shown to a simple worker. Mr. Jung silenced the room. He spoke of the history of the store, of the values that had built it. He told the story of a boy who came with nothing, who swept the floors when no one asked, who worked with honor. Then, he dropped the bombshell. He was not just promoting Chung. He was handing him the entire business, ownership and all. The room gasped. Chung stood frozen, the keys heavy in his hand, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the gift. Chung knelt, tears flowing freely. It wasn't just about the wealth. It was the validation of his life's struggle and principles. The applause was deafening. Everyone knew Chung deserved it. He had earned every brick of that building through sweat and honesty. He never forgot where he came from. He treated every worker with dignity, knowing he had once stood in their shoes. Under his leadership, the business didn't just survive, it thrived. It expanded across the region, becoming a symbol of trust. Years later, Chung would teach the same lesson to the next generation. That greatness is not a destination, but a habit. From a boy with torn shoes to a master of commerce, his journey was a testament to the unstoppable power of integrity. What can we learn? First, true character is what you do when no one is watching. That is where success begins. Second, do small things with great love. If you cannot manage a grain of rice, you cannot manage a mountain. Chung's story is not a fairy tale. It is a blueprint. It is a map for anyone feeling lost in the struggle. To those of you working in the shadows, feeling unseen and unappreciated, keep going. Your time of harvest will surely come. Remember the grain of rice. It seems insignificant, but with patience and care, it feeds the world. You are that grain. Chung's life was his message. He didn't just build a business. He built a legacy that outlasted his own time on earth. The town prospered because of him. One man's integrity rippled out and lifted the standards of the entire community around him. So whatever your task is today, do it with all your heart. Clean that floor, write that code, serve that customer. Be the one who stays late. Be the one who checks the details. Be the one who cannot be bought by shortcuts. Success is not a lottery ticket. It is a rent that is due every single day, and Chung paid it gladly. As we close this chapter, ask yourself, what is the rice sack in your life that you need to carry today? Thank you for watching this story of resilience. If Chung's journey inspired you, let us know in the comments below.